you've got us exploring for this deep dive.
Mm.
And I gotta say, that line from chapter 13, in Okinawa, doors to hell open at the last bell, just like sent chills down my spine.
Yeah.
It's such a great way to set the tone, really eerie.
It's so effective, right?
Yeah.
Using folklore like that to tap into those deep-seated anxieties we all have.
Totally.
Like, imagine believing that the barrier between our world and the spirit world weakens at a certain time.
Oh, yeah.
The pressure.
Yeah, for sure. And the way he's the author blends this folklore with modern anxieties.
Yeah.
Masterful.
It really is.
Speaking of Keith, his background is in digital storytelling. He did a project called Sirius and Limnick's Second Evolution.
Okay, yeah.
And it really shows, the way he builds these immersive experiences in his writing.
You can definitely tell he understands the Japanese language and culture, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way he writes about Okinawa, it's not just a backdrop.
Right.
It becomes a character itself.
Definitely. Full of history and tradition, which actually is a perfect segue to our protagonist,
Okay.
Zena Marlowe,
Xena.
an American military spouse stationed on the island. On the surface, she seems like, just a normal woman.
Right.
But there's this tension in her life.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning. That really drew me in.
I think it's that contrast that makes her relatable.
Oh, for sure.
This clash between her seemingly normal life and then, bam, these extraordinary events.
Yeah.
And then, and the fact that she's skeptical of the supernatural.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I love that. It made me wonder, though, do you think because she's a military spouse, someone who's used to relocating, always adapting to new environments, do you think that makes her more likely to dismiss all the strange stuff? Like she's trying to rationalize it away?
It's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's her coping mechanism, especially with everything happening at Kadena High.
Oh, tell me about it. The fights, the blood.
Intense.
Hard to ignore that.
Definitely not subtle. Especially with the whispers about those experiments and, as that one excerpt says, deadly demons.
Yeah.
What do you think about that link between the school and the supernatural?
Well, it made me think about how Okinawa is often seen as a place where the veil between our world and the spirit world is thin.
Right.
Like all these ancient energies are just lingering there.
Right.
So maybe, just maybe, those experiments messed with something they shouldn't have.
Ripped a hole right open.
Exactly. And now something sinister is free.
It's giving me chills just thinking about it.
Me too. It's like those yurei, those vengeful spirits you always hear about in Japanese horror.
Oh, yeah.
What if those energies are feeding off all the anxieties and fear at the school?
Oh, that's a good point. If that's true, Xena and those students are in for a very rude awakening. Especially if they figure out what's really going on behind those experiments.
It'd be like opening Pandora's box.
Exactly. Unleashing all those ancient, malevolent forces.
Speaking of awakenings, Chapter 13 throws us right into a fire drill at the school.
Oh, here we go.
And let me tell you, the way Keith uses fire, so effective.
It's visceral, right?
Absolutely.
You can practically feel the heat.
Totally. But it's more than just fire, Especially in Okinawa, it holds so much weight.
Oh, absolutely. Think about all the devastation Okinawa has seen because of fire.
Exactly.
But then you have the cleansing rituals, the way it's tied to both creation and destruction.
It's like this powerful force, both natural and supernatural, that's always had a hand in Okinawa's destiny. And in this chapter, that fire becomes terrifying. Like it's going to consume everything in its path.
And the way Keith writes it, the heat's oppressive.
Yeah.
You can practically feel the smoke stinging your eyes.
Yeah.
Like the island itself is feeling the burn.
Yeah, and reflecting all that tension.
Oh, dear.
It's like that line you pointed out, higher and higher, hotter and hotter, fire, fire, fire. Let it burn.
Yeah.
It's just so visceral, right? Like it just pulls you right in.
Totally.
To the heart of that inferno.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about like Spirited Away, when the bathhouse is on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Visually stunning, but terrifying.
Right. And I think, like, in a lot of Miyazaki's films, you get this sense that the fire isn't random.
No.
It's connected to something bigger.
Totally.
Something ancient, something powerful.
Yeah, like there's a force behind it.
Right. It's like this force is manipulating everything, toying with the characters.
Like a puppet master.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes that other line even more chilling. Ga, who will come to her in her time of suffering. It just implies this level of cruelty.
It does.
Like
yeah.
this entity, whatever it is getting off on the chaos.
Yeah, it's reveling in it, which makes Xena's search for Cyan even more heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
The way she's described, so innocent she was, but not for long. It's like, ouch.
Yeah, it just hits you in the gut,
It does.
especially knowing what she's walking into.
Exactly. And I think Keith does a great job of making us feel that dread,
Yeah.
like that sense of doom.
Totally. And then to have Cyan trapped under that melted desk. Ugh, that visual.
So good. So good.
It's like you don't even need to describe what's under there. We can imagine.
And those simple words, it was bad. To describe Cyan's injuries,
Ugh.
it's perfect.
So much is said in those few words.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it leaves the true horror up to us.
Yeah, like Xena can't even process it all.
Right?
And then, amidst all this chaos, there's all this weird stuff happening.
Oh, yeah.
Like those odd conversations.
Yeah.
The feeling of being watched. Do you think that's Xena losing it?
Ooh, good question.
Or is something messing with her?
Right. Because is this just her fear manifesting?
Yeah.
Or is there something actually there trying to distract her from finding Cyan?
Right. Like keep you off track.
Exactly. It's that classic horror trope, right?
Yeah.
Where you're never sure what's real.
Totally, which just adds to that feeling of being trapped.
Oh, yeah, just amps up the psychological torment.
And then the bat-like creature shows up again.
Oh, no.
Right. And this time, Xena's not so sure it wasn't laughing at her,
Ooh, no.
the way Keith writes it. Was it? Laughing? No, it couldn't be.
You're questioning her sanity at that point.
Yeah. Like, is she losing it?
And that's what's so brilliant. That blurred line between what's real and what's in her head.
For sure, it keeps you guessing the whole time.
It does, and it keeps you on edge.
Yeah, totally on edge.
And then, just when you think it can't get any worse, she passes out from the smoke.
Ugh, talk about a cliffhanger.
Right, leaving Cyan's fate totally up in the air.
I know. What happens next? It's like you're right there with her.
Trapped.
Yeah, in this nightmare. The heat, the smoke, that feeling of being hunted.
Oh, for sure?
Keith knows how to build suspense.
He really, really does.
But it's more than just, like, surface-level thrills, right?
Right.
It makes you think about bigger things, too.
Yeah, definitely. It's like he uses this terrifying situation to explore these deeper themes.
Yes. Like what?
Like the fragility of innocence,
Yeah.
and that struggle to hold on to hope when everything's so dark.
Totally. And the way he ties those themes to Okinawa.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, so smart. Like you said before, it's not just a haunted school.
Right.
It's about this place where the line between what's real and what's supernatural is blurry.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder,
What's out there?
yeah, like what would we find if we dug a little deeper into our own backyards?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
What's lurking beneath the surface?
Ooh, that's creepy. Makes you think, right?
It does.
Gates of Okinawa totally has me hooked, I gotta say. Can't wait to see what happens next. What do you think? Xena wakes up. What then?
Ooh, that's the question, isn't it?
And what about Cyan?
Right.
Right.
Like, does Xena find the strength to face everything? Not just the supernatural stuff, but her own doubts, too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
And will it be enough to save Cyan?
Ugh, I need answers.
Like, too.
Well, Keith has created something really special here, that's for sure. A blend of horror, mystery, Japanese folklore. It all just stays with you.
It really does.
So, to anyone listening, if you love a good scare and you want something that'll make you think,
Gates of Okinawa.
read it. And don't forget to check out his other work, too, like Sirius and Limnic, Second Evolution. Clearly, the guy knows how to write.
He does. He's one to watch for sure.
Okay, before we wrap up, any final thoughts for our listeners? Something to, like, really chew on.
Okay, so imagine this. You're Xena. You wake up, but the fire is still raging around you.
Oh, no.
And there's a voice. It's telling you to get out, to save yourself. But Cyan's still out there? What do? Listen to that voice, play it safe? Or do you go deeper into that inferno to try to save him?
Oh my gosh, what a question. That's going to keep me up tonight. Right. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, happy reading.